that cancers grow and spread, and we will explain each one, and then explain how Envita's treatments address each factor. The first factor is necrosis and apoptosis. Apoptosis is simply the process that normal healthy cells use to kill themselves when things are going wrong within the cell. It's called programmed cell death, and within cancer cells, this no longer works or occurs the way it should, so the cells grow uncontrollably. The second factor affecting the way that cancer grows and spreads is the p53 and the p21 genes. The p53 and p21 genes are responsible for turning on apoptosis, or programmed cell death. But when these genes are mutated, they are no longer able to perform this function. Chemotherapy and radiation can actually cause these genes to mutate and no longer function properly. The third factor affecting the way that cancer grows and spreads is microtubules. Microtubules are the skeletal structure of cells. They make up the architecture of the cell, and there are chemotherapeutic drugs that are targeted to go after the skeletal structure of the cells, which affects its growth as well. The fourth factor affecting the way that cancer grows and spreads is the P-glycoprotein pump, which is a naturally occurring defense within our body. It's a pump within the cell that pushes chemicals out. As we increase chemotherapeutics within the body, this pump can become overly active and pump the chemotherapy out of the body, making it ineffective in treating the cancer. The fifth factor affecting the way that cancer grows and spreads is angiogenesis. Angiogenesis essentially is the way the tumor recruits a blood supply. It releases a chemical called VEGF that brings the blood supply to the tumor, and the tumor needs this blood supply if it wants to grow beyond 2 cubic millimeters in size. So as a method of treatment, we want to block angiogenesis, or the recruitment of new blood supply. The sixth factor affecting the way the cancer grows and spreads is the immune system and natural killer cells. The immune system is the first and last defense against cancer, and is an area that is normally not addressed. Natural killer cells are a part of the immune system and are very important because they can target tumors and cancer cells and kill them. We also know that a number of chemotherapeutic drugs need the immune system to be intact for the drugs to be effective. Over 10,000 times each day, our immune system goes about destroying cells that could become cancerous. The seventh factor affecting the way that cancer grows and spreads is inflammation and infection. We know that inflammation plays a major role in cancer. Chronic long-term inflammations, allergies, or chronic infections can weaken our immune system and create an environment for cancer cells to grow and spread. The eighth factor affecting the way that cancers grow and spread is the MYC oncogene. The MYC oncogene basically is a gene that can become easily mutated by chemical carcinogens from the food, air, and water that we take in. Mutated genes can cause cancers to occur. Mutation of these genes can also occur through bacterial and viral infections. We see this with the human papillomavirus that can lead to cervical cancer, Helicobacter pylobacterium that can lead to gastrointestinal cancer, or the hepatitis C virus that can lead to liver cancer. The ninth factor that affects the way cancer grows and spreads is exosomes. The cancer cells are intelligent, and tumors are intelligent, and they send out these little bombs called exosomes that target the natural killer cells of our immune system, and they downregulate them or try to make them ineffective because they know that the immune system is out to destroy them. The 10th factor that affects the way cancer grows and spreads is estrogen receptors alpha and beta. We know that estrogen plays a big role in cancer growth. They play a role in cancers that are estrogen sensitive, such as breast, ovarian, and uterine cancer. The estrogen receptors are throughout the body and are found in the colon, found in the prostate, found in the lungs, found in the bladder, found in arteries. They therefore can play a role in these cancers as well. Chemicals in the environment that mimic estrogen in our bodies can cause tumors to grow anywhere there are receptors. The 11th factor that affects the way that cancer grows and spreads is the milieu, or surrounding physical environment. Tumors need a certain environment for them to grow, and we'll use the analogy of fish. If fish are taken out of the water, they will die. They don't do well outside of that environment. Well, tumors also need a certain environment in the body to survive. They need an acidic environment that is low in oxygen. So by creating an alkaline, oxygen-rich environment, we can make it more difficult for cancer cells to grow and spread. A comprehensive cancer treatment program should target all 11 factors involved in cancer growth and spread. Envitas treatments can be used on their own or in combination with traditional chemotherapy and radiation. But unlike traditional chemotherapy and radiation, which target only 4 of the factors involved in cancer growth and spread, Envitas treatments target all 11 factors.
A normal cell to a cancer cell. Take 5 minutes to get the picture. More than 60,000 billion cells make up the human body. They are the units that form the tissues which make up our organs, like the liver, heart, and lungs. When the body needs it, our cells split into 2 and replace those cells that are defective or have come to the end of their lifespan. This makes it possible for our tissues to preserve their shape and their respective functions with the passage of time. Every cell is therefore programmed to multiply and die. This ordered but complex program is controlled by the center of the cell, the nucleus, which contains chromosomes containing many genes made up of DNA. Sometimes, some of these genes undergo a change. The nucleus then sends out abnormal orders and the cell goes wrong. It multiplies uncontrollably and takes on a life of its own. Each new cell produced contains the same defect. The cells proliferate chaotically and form a tumor. This process may be short, but is often long. 10 to 30 years may separate the birth of a first abnormal cell from the appearance of a tumor of about 1 cubic centimeter. The tumor forms many blood vessels in order to survive. These will supply the tumor with oxygen and nutriments, allowing it to live and grow. This is what we call the phenomenon of angiogenesis. The tumor, however, only really becomes dangerous when the cancerous cells begin to invade through the vessels into the adjacent areas and spread to the surrounding organs. These cells can then invade other parts of the body, multiply and produce new tumors. Metastasis is the term used for this spreading process. But why does a cell become cancerous? There are many factors and they can exist to different degrees. Factors have been identified such as hereditary genetic anomalies, exposure to some viruses, HIV, hepatitis B, C and D, papillomavirus, Epstein-Barr virus, exposure to toxic agents, chemical products, radiation, sun, unhealthy behaviors such as the consumption of alcohol and tobacco, or a diet too rich in fat and low in fruit and vegetables. Today, over 25 million people in the world live with cancer. 7 million die from it each year. The disease represents the leading cause of mortality for those under 65. Lung cancer is the most widespread, followed by breast cancer, colorectal, stomach, and prostate cancer. The means to combat cancer do, however, exist. These often complementary treatments are used alone or in combination according to the type of cancer and its status. The goal of the treatments is to make it possible to eliminate the tumor and cure the patient in early-stage cancer, or like a chronic disease, to control its development. There are mainly 3 kinds of treatment. Surgery consists of removing the tumor in part or in its entirety. Radiotherapy exposes the tumor to radioactive rays, which prevent the diseased cells from multiplying and destroys them. Chemotherapy consists of administering systemic medicinal substances to destroy the cancerous cells or prevent them from spreading. Chemotherapy and radiotherapy act on cancerous cells, but also on healthy cells, which explains their side effects. But today, better knowledge of the characteristics of cancerous cells makes it possible to develop therapies that target the cancer development mechanisms more specifically. Sanofi Aventis R&D is already present in all these areas to fight against cancer on all fronts.
Cancer is a group of over 100 diseases characterized by abnormal, uncontrolled cell growth. In a healthy body, cells grow, die, and are replaced in a very controlled way. Damage or change in the genetic material of cells by environmental or internal factors sometimes results in cells that do not die and continue to multiply until a mass of cancer cells or a tumor develops. Most cancer-related deaths are due to metastasis, malignant cells that penetrate into the circulatory system and establish colonies in other parts of the body. Great advancements have been made, but cancer is still the leading cause of death for people under the age of 85. In the United States, 1 in every 4 people die from cancer.
Spread of tumors to distant locations is of great importance in cancer. About 90% of the deaths due to cancer involve tumors that have spread around the body. The movement of tumor cells to other parts of the body is known as metastasis. Metastasis is a complex process during which cancer cells break off of the original or primary tumor and move through the body to form tumors at new locations. From the point of view of a cancer cell, this is a dangerous and often unsuccessful process. A trip through the body is full of hazards that cause the death of most cells that begin the journey, even tough cancer cells. To begin the process, individual cells must break away from the tumor and invade nearby vessels. The cells crawl along the surface of other cells and the fibrous, stringy structure surrounding them and then force their way in. Shown here is the invasion of the blood supply. Once inside a blood vessel, the cancer cells may perish from a variety of causes. Some cells die simply because they are unable to survive floating around in the bloodstream. Others may become damaged and die when they squeeze through tight spaces or bump into the walls of the blood vessels. Still other migrating cells may be recognized and destroyed by cells of the immune system. How and where the migrating cells stop is different for different cancer types. Once the tumor cells are no longer moving, they can begin the process of forming a new tumor by leaving the blood vessel and beginning to reproduce in the new location. This does not always occur, and cells that have made it this far may still die or fail to divide. If the new environment is suitable, the newly arrived cell will begin to grow and a new tumor will develop.